Hey there, welcome to LSAT Demon Daily. I'm Ben Olson, that's Nathan Fox. We're the founders of LSATdemon.com and our weekly podcast, Thinking LSAT. We have an email here from Chase. The subject is Argument 101.
Hey guys, I'm brand new to the LSAT and I find myself struggling to properly identify argument parts. This causes issues on conclusion questions, obviously, but I am missing other question types because I am missing the conclusion or arguing with premises simply because I don't recognize them as such. How do you get better at spotting and labeling the different parts of the argument? Thanks, Chase.
Well, first you have to get better at understanding what each sentence is saying, because when you understand what a sentence or claim within a sentence is saying, then it's much easier to decide whether the person is presenting that as evidence for some other claim in the argument, or if that's a claim that they seem to be trying to support. You really got to start with understanding and then move to parts. And I'm worried that Chase is doing that because Chase says this causes issues on conclusion questions. Also, Chase says, I find myself struggling to properly identify argument parts. I feel like Chase is reading these passages and immediately trying to identify the part as opposed to immediately trying to identify the idea underlying the clause or sentence that he just read.
Yeah, and there might not even be a conclusion there. I mean, what is it? 40% of the arguments on
like that.
Logical reasoning don't even have a conclusion. So if you're going in looking for the conclusion every time, that's not going to work. If you're reading the first sentence and going, okay, is this a premise or a conclusion? That's not really going to work because it might not be either. It might just be, well, I guess if it's not a conclusion, it is kind of a premise, right? Even if it's just fact. I suppose you could call that a premise. There really are only two argument parts, Chase. I mean, there's premises, that's evidence. There's evidence, there's a conclusion. That's it. That's the parts of an argument. One or more pieces of evidence and a conclusion. That's the only argument parts that you're looking to identify. So I know students frequently, especially those who read a bunch of theory before they started doing actual practice, they'll be like, oh, but is that an intermediate conclusion?
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, what are you talking about? Don't stop saying those words. Is it evidence or is it a conclusion? Let's start with that. Let's keep it simple. Is it evidence or is it a conclusion?
Yeah.
But there doesn't even have to be a conclusion at all. The obvious first step is like when they say therefore, they are introducing a conclusion of the argument. It doesn't have to be their main conclusion. They can have multiple conclusions, but for argument 101, when they say therefore, that's the conclusion. When they say so, that's the conclusion. When they say thus, that's the conclusion. When they say since or because or for, they're about to introduce some evidence. There's also constructions that are like, since it's Tuesday, I will be eating tacos. That comma there, right? Since it's Tuesday means that it's Tuesday is evidence. Since introduces a premise. Since it's Tuesday, that's my evidence. Comma, I will be eating tacos. That's my conclusion. In that construction. I don't think Chase needs to get super heavy-handed about it. I think that he needs to just read more LSAT logical reasoning. Right? Do more questions. When you miss them, look at our explanations. I think you'll realize that it's a lot simpler than you're making it out to be, especially if you're really heavy-handedly going in looking for argument parts instead of just comprehending what they're saying. Do we have other ways of spotting conclusions? I can think of one more.
Are you thinking of like should?
Should, yeah, that's a good, just basically when something sounds extra like it's possibly bullshit, that's where I go, really?
Yeah.
What's your evidence for that? I read everything skeptically. I read the first sentence skeptically. And sometimes it'll just be like, every house on this street is made of wood.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm not skeptical about that. That sounds like you're just giving me information about a certain street.
Yeah.
But if it says every house on this street will burn down within the next 20 years.
Mm.
Wait a minute. How do you know that?
Yeah.
Right? That doesn't seem like you're giving, how you can't possibly be giving me known information, can you?
Yeah.
You know that these houses are going to burn down within 20 years. How do you know that?
Yeah.
And so proper skepticism as you read can actually start showing you where these conclusions are before you've even read the rest of the argument.
Yeah.
Of course, in that case, if the first sentence literally was, every house on this street will burn down in the next 20 years,
Yep.
I would have a strong hypothesis that that's probably what they're trying to conclude. I would be asking, really, how do you know that? What's your evidence for that?
Yep.
But I'm also open-minded because they might not
Pivot.
use that as their conclusion. They might instead say, any house which will burn down in the next 20 years will significantly pollute the environment.
Therefore.
And they might then say, yeah, therefore these houses will significantly hurt the environment within the next 20 years.
Yep.
And in that case, I'd go, well, all right. I mean, I don't know how you know that every house is going to burn down.
That seems ridiculous, but I see that you're presenting that as evidence.
Yep.
And you're not presenting evidence for it. So this is the irony, is when the test does not try to justify its claims.
Yep.
You actually then just have to turn around and accept them. It's the second that they try to prove them that you can jump all over them and say, well, I don't think you've succeeded there.
Yeah, because arguments have evidence and conclusion, right? There's these arguments have 1 to 4 or 5 maybe sentences. And if they're making an argument, there's going to be some of its evidence and some of it's the conclusion.
Yep.
And so, yeah, if they don't ever try to provide me any information for, like justification for their claim that these houses will burn down in the next 20 years, if it said, well, they're made of straw, straw combusts at a certain temperature, the Earth's temperature has been warming, it will be a certain temperature. At that point, I'd be like, oh, I see what you're doing there. You're telling me that because there's straw and because the Earth is warming, therefore these houses are going to burn down. Okay, now I understand. And the houses burning down is clearly your conclusion.
Yeah.
But if they don't ever do that, if they just reason from the fact that they're going to burn down to some other shit, then that other shit has to be their conclusion.
Yeah.
I have a hypothesis about Chase. Based on your question, it sounds like you might have heard the world's worst tip for logical reasoning, which is to read the question first. I just hope you're not, I know in advance that this is a conclusion question, or I know in advance that this is a strengthen question, because that's not helping you to understand these arguments.
Yeah.
In fact, it's preventing you from understanding these arguments because you're doing it in such a technical, heavy-handed way that you're not able to just roll with the punches and understand what's there and understand what they're doing. I mean, I can write the world's hardest conclusion questions, which would be made harder by you knowing in advance that it's a conclusion question.
Yeah.
Because I could telegraph, I could just trick you into picking something that wasn't the conclusion of the argument.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
If you're looking for that shortcut of like, oh, well, I'm just going to look for the keywords and that's it. No, you have to understand how they used these, which part of it supports another part of it. That is where intermediate conclusions can really fuck people up, right? It's real easy for them to have so in the argument, but that so is telegraphing this is an part of it is a conclusion of the argument, but from there they go one step further.
Yeah.
Or they throw in another keyword phrase like because of this or something. So now you've got a so and you've also got a because of this or a therefore or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, well, it's a main conclusion question. All I have to do is just look for the keyword. Yeah, okay, but that doesn't help you if there's 2 keywords or no keywords, or the keyword indicates the intermediate conclusion instead of the ultimate conclusion.
Yeah, which happens a lot.
So, like, if that's what you're doing, Chase, and anybody else out there hearing me, if your prep program told you that you should read the question and then the passage,
Yeah.
You're just not doing it our way. You're doing it what we think is a vastly harder way. Anything more for Chase?
No. Thanks for writing in.
Email daily at lsatdemon.com if you would like to ask us a question or share some LSAT or law school admissions news. Thanks for listening.